Good morning. Tony Dattino doing my Live with Tony at 9 a.m. on Friday morning as the month of April is coming to a close and we're headed into May. And as I've said a few times, I find my afternoons have gotten a little bit more hectic, and there have been a few days where I've missed my Live with Tony since I'm out and about until about 7 o'clock in the evening. So I've been moving them into the morning or into the earlier part of the day when I see my calendar has got a busy afternoon, which today it does. So I wanted to pick up an article that I was reading in the current issue of Scientific American. And it had me think of several things. So this is the May 2023 issue. So we're into May here in a few days. And it was a really interesting article that got me thinking about two things. This whole notion of the importance of exercise. And people and research is showing more and more that it is important for us to get movement and daily exercises of some sort. And I have defined exercise in three different cuts. First of all, aerobic exercise. What are you doing that's building up a bit of your lungs and your heart and your strength of breathing? And so what movement exercises are you getting that increase your aerobic activity and your aerobic abilities, your breathing and your lungs? And they're finding more and more work that's talking about the oxygen we breathe in and the importance it has to our memories and our mental functions and our cognitive fitness. So exercise is becoming one of the hot topics. I'm going to come back to that in a minute through this article I read about the 10,000 steps gimmick. Number two is some form of muscle building, and I don't want to call it weightlifting. You can use water bottles if you need to do curls, do some squats, get up from a chair, without putting your hands on the arms. So there's muscle building. So your thigh muscles, maybe your buttocks a little bit, maybe a little bit for your chest, some of your muscles for your arms, what you're using. So your legs and your arm. Walking up steps is a great thing. Lifting up this 2-pound weights of some sort, all healthy and important for your anaerobic activities. And so what are we doing to build muscle? And what's been amazing is research again has shown that when our brain feels that we're building, maybe it's our abs, maybe it's up here in our chest, maybe it's our arms, our thighs, our butt. It's telling our brain the body's alive and we want to keep going. It extends life expectancy. So some of the research on this is early stage, and it sounds crazy when you first hear it, but it certainly is something that's important to us. And then, of course, as we get older and our bones and our hips and our shoulders and our neck and our back muscles and leg muscles, get fixed, especially if we're sitting for hours at a desk or hours at a laptop or hours watching TV. It doesn't matter, sitting down. What flexibility activities are we engaged in? So I have a daily activity program that I utilize that helps me, especially I've read 5 minutes of exercise before bedtime, and not aerobic, but stretching and flexibility helps get a more comfortable night's sleep and things. So, and it also helps you to reduce any sugar that you may have running through your bloodstream. So, I mean, this all sounds a little bit crazy at times. When you first read this stuff, it seems like, my goodness, but we're on the cutting edge of science that's just reshaping the way we look at so many different things. And then I'm going to take you through the 10,000 steps gimmick, and then we're going to pick that up and say, and what happens if those same thinking patterns apply to our memories, and what are we learning about that? So let's talk about the 10,000 steps gimmick, a May issue of Scientific American magazine, and it talks about new research points to a different daily step goals depending upon your age and fitness. So what happens if you've heard people, you see it all the time, people walking on the streets and different groups, different community centers, I got to get my 10,000 steps. My goodness, and that seems to be fixed. And has anybody ever stopped and challenged what they're defining here as the 10,000 step gimmick? I average 9,370 steps a day. I know because I counted. This is the writer of this article. Lila Denworth. She's an award-winning scientific journalist. I mean, this is somebody that's got some significant credibility. But she counts 9,370 steps a day, not so much to catch every call as to catch every step. My daily aim, 10,000. Yet the concept, now here comes the gimmick, right? The concept of 10,000 steps a day to maintain health is rooted not in science, but in a marketing gimmick. In 1960s, a company in Japan invented an early pedometer, and because the character for 10,000 looks like a person walking, the company called it the 10,000 step meter. What? It came from a Japanese marketing play to talk about a pedometer that was going to track and count 10,000 steps, and it looked like a person. It was a short, catchy phrase. Taking that many steps daily is challenging, but doable. Sure, if you get 10,000 steps, it seems like it's a goal, a good one, but there was not really any basis to it. Step-counting devices then grew, such as watches and phones, came into widespread use over the last 20 years. And once they did, scientists needed to follow users for longer periods of time to learn anything meaningful about the number of steps that affect mortality, cardiovascular fitness, or anything else concerning with their health. And that really hasn't happened until recently. So now science is catching up to marketing. And we've been marketing 10,000 steps for how long? Get your Fitbit and get your cell phone, count your steps. And is that always the best thing you should be doing? So here's some research now that's done, the new evidence that started to come in around 2019, so it's very recent, very, very recent. And it starts at Duke University. I think we all know a little bit about Duke, other than their basketball team. Duke University, rather significant university. But they began to publish some information that talked about what is important about our daily, weekly activities. And that's somewhere around 150 minutes of weekly moderate activity, a brisk walk or vigorous activity such as jogging or doing the weightlifting, some of the things I just finished talking about earlier. So it comes back along and says, hey, we published the actual effects of meeting the 10,000 step goals, and other large studies followed. So 2019, 2020, 2021. The result, movement is good and more is better, but the benefits taper. Your personal peak depends on your age. Now, that's an interesting concept. What's your age? People younger than 60 should try to walk about 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day to get the most benefits in terms of life expectancy and cardiovascular health. So if you're less than 60 years old, okay, stay within the 8 to 10. Get to 8, at least get to 8. And that's a benefit to life expectancy and cardiovascular health. But if you're over 60, I think I fit into that category, the most benefits are between 6,000 to 8,000 steps. 7 to 9 steps a day is equivalent to 150, 300 minutes of brisk walking each week, and the target sets the guidelines. And so now we're looking at, if you're over a certain age, 60 in this case, hey, 6 to 8,000 significantly better, and maybe that's a better thing for life expectancy and for your bone health and your cardiovascular health. And it all depends on energy expenditure. I mean, I think Lydia did a super job in this article. She really made this simple to understand. Walking for 60 minutes at 3 miles an hour and running for 30 minutes at 6 miles an hour is the same amount of energy. So whether you're walking or running, the older you are, the less efficient you are with your steps. So per step, older people expend more energy, and as a result, they need fewer steps. So now let me take the 10,000 steps gimmick and close out my Live with Tony this morning. Suppose you're in the same mode that says, gee, I'm getting older and I'm losing my memory. Oh my goodness, dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive impairment. And you sign up into that and say, and there's nothing much I can do about it. There isn't much I can do to impact my mental health. There isn't much I can do if I can't get out and do my 10,000 steps. Oh my goodness. And you turn around and say, and then I apply that same thinking process to our memories and say, my memories are fixed. I have what I have when I was born, and therefore there's nothing I can do about it. And you subscribe to that thinking. What impact does that have on your mental fitness? And after running the USA Memory Championship for 24 years and looking at the differences that people have made in their lives at any age, from 12 up to, we had people compete that were in their 70s. What if you subscribe to, there are some skills I can learn, there are some things that I can do that maybe can have an impact on my own cognitive functioning and memories. And maybe you just say, well, why don't I just try a few memory skills or some mnemonic systems, or try to do something that challenges my ability to remember names and my abilities to remember a list of items that I need to put on my to-do list, or things that I can do to remember where I put my keys or my glasses or my cell phone. What if I subscribed to that belief and I just began to learn and do something to improve my own abilities to enhance not only my heart, but my brain. And that's what the USA Memory Championship is all about. That's what we've been focused on for the last 24 years, and getting a message out to people. There's more that we can do with our mental fitness than we ever thought possible. So there's my message for Friday as we move out of April, and we left our April Fools back on the 1st and got into May and the spring flowers. And may you have a pleasant weekend and reflect on your 10,000 steps as you go about your weekly chores. And you also go about thinking about, what might I be able to do to improve my memory? Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.